The bank manager called security on a 14-year-old girl for trying to deposit her scholarship check. When the girl's father walked through those doors, her world crumbled in seconds. But this story isn't what you think it is. What happened in that marble-floored lobby would expose a conspiracy that reached the highest levels of corporate America. And by the end, you'll question everything you thought you knew about power, prejudice, and the price of doing what's right. The morning sun streams through floor-to-ceiling windows, casting long shadows across the polished marble floor of Meridian National Bank. The scent of fresh coffee mingles with the subtle aroma of leather and expensive cologne. Crystal chandeliers hang from the vaulted ceiling, their light dancing off the mahogany walls lined with portraits of distinguished men in suits. 14-year-old Aaliyah Brooks pushes through the heavy glass doors, her backpack slung over one shoulder, a manila envelope clutched tightly in her hands. She's wearing her school uniform, a navy blazer, white button-down shirt, and plaid skirt. Her sneakers squeak softly against the marble as she approaches the teller counter. Her heart pounds as she unfolds the envelope, revealing a scholarship check for $5,000. The letterhead reads, Future Leaders Foundation, Academic Excellence Award. This moment represents everything she's worked for: late-night studying, tutoring younger kids to earn extra credit, volunteering at the community center every weekend. Behind the mahogany counter stands Vanessa Grant, the branch manager. At 43, Vanessa has climbed the corporate ladder through calculated moves and strategic alliances. Her auburn hair is pulled back in a perfect chignon, her burgundy suit tailored to precision. Diamond earrings catch the light as she turns to observe the young girl approaching. Vanessa's smile is practiced, professional, but it falters when she notices Aaliyah's appearance. Her gaze sweeps from the girl's natural hair to her modest uniform, lingering on the well-worn backpack and scuffed sneakers. "Good morning," Aaliyah says, her voice steady despite her nerves. "I'd like to make a deposit, please." The young teller, Trevor White, extends his hand for the paperwork. His expression shifts as he sees the amount on the check, $5,000, from a 14-year-old girl. "Where did you get this?" Trevor asks, his tone immediately suspicious. Aaliyah's cheeks flush, but she maintains her composure. "It's my scholarship. I have all the documentation right here." She slides the award letter across the counter along with her student ID and a letter from her school principal. Vanessa steps forward, her heels clicking against the marble. She doesn't look at the documentation. Instead, she studies Aaliyah with the calculating gaze of someone who has already made up her mind. "We've had issues with fraudulent checks recently," Vanessa announces, her voice carrying across the lobby. Several customers turn to look. "I'll need to run a thorough verification process." The words hang in the air like an accusation. Aaliyah feels the weight of every gaze in the room, the whispered conversations that suddenly focus on her. Her hands tremble slightly as she realizes this simple transaction has become something else entirely. "How long will that take?" Aaliyah asks. "I need to get back to school." Vanessa's smile doesn't reach her eyes. "As long as it takes, you'll need to wait right here." She gestures to a corner of the lobby, away from the counter, away from the other customers. "Don't move from that spot." Aaliyah stands in the designated corner, her back straight, her chin held high despite the humiliation coursing through her veins. The marble floor feels cold through her thin-soled sneakers. The chandeliers above cast harsh shadows, making her feel exposed under their light. Around her, the bank continues its daily rhythm. A well-dressed elderly couple enters, greeted warmly by Vanessa herself. "Mr. and Mrs. Sullivan, how wonderful to see you. Please, right this way to our VIP area." The contrast is stark and intentional. While the Sullivans are escorted to plush leather chairs and offered complimentary coffee, Aaliyah remains standing in her corner, watched by the security guard whose name tag reads Thompson. Minutes tick by, then hours. Aaliyah watches as other customers come and go. A young man with a thick accent approaches Trevor's window with paperwork similar to hers. Vanessa immediately intercepts him. "Sorry, our system is running slow today. It'll take quite a while to process your request." The man leaves, clearly frustrated. But when a white couple enters just moments later with identical paperwork, Vanessa's demeanor transforms completely. "Of course, let me take care of that right away," she beams. "You're in excellent hands here." Aaliyah's stomach tightens. This isn't about verification procedures or bank policies. This is about something much darker, much more personal. Her phone vibrates in her pocket. A text from her mother. "How did the deposit go, sweetheart? Should be home by now." Aaliyah's fingers hover over the keyboard. How can she explain this? How can she tell her mother that she's been treated like a criminal for the crime of being young and black in a space that clearly doesn't want her there? She types back, "Still at the bank. Everything's fine." But everything is not fine. As Aaliyah stands in her corner, fighting back tears of frustration and humiliation, she notices something that makes her blood run cold. Vanessa is speaking in hushed tones with a man in an expensive charcoal suit. She recognizes him from the business section of the newspaper. Harrison Wells, CEO of Pacific Trust Bank, Meridian's biggest competitor. She strains to hear their conversation, her journalist instincts, inherited from her father, kicking in. "The Morrison account files." She catches fragments of Vanessa's whispered words. "Quarterly projections. Merger discussions." Harrison slides a thick envelope across the counter. Vanessa glances around nervously before accepting it, her fingers trembling slightly as she tucks it into her desk drawer. Aaliyah's mind races. Her father has taught her to recognize the signs of corporate espionage, and what she's witnessing looks exactly like a confidential information exchange. Vanessa isn't just discriminating against customers, she's betraying her own company. But who would believe a 14-year-old girl, especially one who's been standing in the corner for 3 hours, treated like a potential criminal? The answer comes to her in a flash of inspiration. She pulls out her phone and begins recording, keeping it low and discreet. She captures Vanessa's nervous glances, Harrison's satisfied smirk, and most importantly, the moment when money changes hands. "You've been very helpful, Miss Grant," Harrison says as he prepares to leave. After Harrison exits, Vanessa returns to her position behind the counter. But now, she looks different to Aaliyah. Not just prejudiced, but dangerous. A woman who would sell out her own company while humiliating innocent customers. Vanessa's gaze finds Aaliyah in the corner, and for a moment, their eyes lock. There's something predatory in the bank manager's stare, as if she knows that Aaliyah has seen too much. The security guard steps closer to Aaliyah. "Miss Grant wants you to come with me," he says quietly, "to the back office." Aaliyah's pulse quickens. The back office. Away from witnesses, away from the cameras. "I'll wait here," she says firmly, "until my verification is complete." The guard's hand moves to his radio. "Miss Grant, she's refusing to cooperate." That's when the main doors open and everything changes. The man who walks through the doors doesn't look like a CEO. He's wearing faded jeans, a simple button-down shirt, and work boots that's seen better days. His hair is slightly disheveled, as if he's been running his hands through it. There are calluses on his palms and ink stains on his fingers. This is Darius Freeman, but no one in the bank knows that yet. To them, they're just another blue-collar worker, probably here to cash a paycheck or beg for a loan extension. Darius's eyes sweep the lobby until he finds what he's looking for. His daughter, standing in the corner like a prisoner, with a security guard hovering nearby. His jaw tightens. His hands clench into fists. But when he speaks, his voice is calm, controlled. "Aaliyah," he calls out. "You ready to go, sweetheart?" Vanessa looks up from her paperwork, annoyed by the interruption. She takes in Darius's appearance, The work clothes, the tired eyes, the calloused hands, and her expression hardens. "Excuse me, sir," she says in her most condescending tone. "We're in the middle of a verification process. Your daughter will need to remain here until we're finished." Darius walks slowly across the marble floor, his boots echoing in the now quiet lobby. Other customers stop their conversations to watch. The tellers pause their work. Even the security guard seems uncertain. "Verification process?" Darius asks, his voice carrying a dangerous edge. "For a scholarship check. We have procedures, and frankly, sir, a check this large from someone her age raises red flags. We have to protect our institution from fraud." Darius nods thoughtfully. "Red flags, I see." He looks around the lobby, taking in the opulent surroundings.
That's when Darius smiles. It's not a friendly smile. It's the smile of a predator who has just spotted his prey. "Security?" he repeats. "You mean Thompson over there?" He nods toward the guard. Big guy. Looks like he takes his job seriously. He walks over to Thompson, extending his hand. "Thompson, right? How long have you been working security here?" The guard, confused by the friendly gesture, shakes his hand. "About 6 months, sir." "Good benefits? Decent pay?" "Well, yes, sir, it's a good job." Darius nods. "That's important. Job security. Knowing your employer has your back." He pauses, letting the words sink in. "Of course, that depends on working for the right kind of employer." Vanessa is growing more agitated by the minute. "Sir, I need you to step back. You're interfering with bank business." "Bank business," Darius repeats. He pulls out his phone and shows Aaliyah the screen. "Sweetheart, is this the verification process she's talking about?" On the phone screen is security footage, timestamped from earlier that morning. It shows Vanessa accepting an envelope from Harrison Wells, their whispered conversation, the exchange of money. The color drains from Vanessa's face. "Where did you get that?" she whispers. Darius's expression remains calm, but his eyes are steel. "I get footage from all my banks, Miss Grant. It's called oversight." The lobby falls silent. The words hang in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. "Your banks?" Vanessa's voice cracks. That's when Darius reaches into his back pocket and pulls out a simple leather wallet. From it, he extracts a business card and places it on the counter. Vanessa's hands shake as she reads it aloud. "Darius Freeman, Chief Executive Officer, Meridian National Bank." The silence is deafening. The reaction is immediate and devastating. Vanessa's face goes from pale to ashen gray. Her hands tremble as she stares at the business card, as if it might disappear if she looks away. "Mr. Freeman, I didn't know. I never expected. You never expected to be held accountable for your actions?" Around the lobby, customers and employees have stopped pretending not to watch. Phones are being pulled out, recording the confrontation. The whispers have started. "Oh my God, he's the CEO. Did you see how they treated his daughter? This is going viral." Trevor, the young teller, looks like he might faint. The same Trevor who had held Amelia's scholarship check up to the light, inspecting it like a counterfeit bill. "Sir," Trevor begins, his voice shaking. "I was just following procedures. Miss Grant told me to what? To treat my daughter like a criminal? To humiliate a 14-year-old girl who earned a scholarship through hard work and dedication?" He turns back to Vanessa, who is now visibly perspiring, despite the bank's air conditioning. "Let's talk about procedures, Miss Grant. Is it procedure to make a child stand in a corner for 3 hours? Is it procedure to treat customers differently based on their race? Is it procedure to accept envelopes full of cash from our competitors?" Each question hits like a physical blow. Vanessa's carefully constructed world is collapsing around her. "I can explain," she whispers. "Please do." Darius's voice is ice cold. "Explain to me why my daughter, a straight-A student, a scholarship recipient, a young woman I've raised to believe in fairness and justice, had to endure 3 hours of humiliation in my own bank." The lobby is so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Even the air conditioning seems to have stopped humming. Vanessa opens her mouth, but no words come out. What can she say? That she judged Aaliyah based on her appearance? That she saw a young black girl and assumed the worst? That she's been selling confidential information to competitors while mistreating the very customers she's supposed to serve? Nothing to say? Darius asks. Then let me say something. He walks over to Aaliyah, placing a protective hand on her shoulder. Sweetheart, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you had to experience this. I'm sorry that in 2024, we still have people who judge others by the color of their skin instead of the content of their character. He turns back to the room, his voice carrying to every corner of the lobby. This is my daughter. She's 14 years old. She earned a full scholarship to Parker Academy through her own merit, not because of who I am, but because of who she is. She's volunteered over 200 hours at the local community center. She tutors kids who are struggling in school. She's everything I hope to be when I grow up. Aaliyah's eyes fill with tears, but they're not tears of humiliation anymore. They're tears of pride, of love, of validation. And today, Darius continues, she came to this bank, my bank, to make a simple deposit. Instead, she was treated like a criminal. She was isolated, humiliated, and made to feel like she didn't belong. He pauses, letting the weight of his words settle over the room. But here's what Miss Grant didn't know. While she was busy profiling my daughter, she was also conducting business with our competitors, selling confidential information, betraying the trust of every customer in this room. He pulls out his phone and plays the recorded footage on speaker. The audio is clear. Vanessa's voice discussing client accounts, merger plans, confidential financial data. The gasps from the crowd are audible. Several customers begin demanding to speak to managers, to file complaints, to close their accounts. So let me be clear, Darius says, his voice cutting through the chaos. This isn't just about racism, though that's certainly what my daughter experienced today. This is about corruption. This is about a bank employee who sold out her customers and her company while hiding behind prejudice and discrimination. Vanessa finally finds her voice. Mr. Freeman, please, I made a mistake. I can make this right. A mistake? Darius's eyes rise. Ms. Grant, accepting bribes from competitors isn't a mistake. It's a crime. Discriminating against customers isn't a mistake. It's a choice. And choices have consequences. The next few minutes unfold with the swift precision of a well-orchestrated plan. Darius makes a phone call, and within moments, FBI agents are walking through the bank's front doors. The investigation into corporate espionage has been ongoing for months, and Vanessa's recorded conversation with Harrison Wells is the final piece of evidence they needed. As federal agents place handcuffs on Vanessa's wrists, she turns to Darius one last time. This is all because of your daughter, because she couldn't just wait quietly like she was supposed to. Darius steps closer, his voice low and dangerous. No, Miss Grant, this is because you couldn't see a brilliant young woman when she was standing right in front of you. This is because you chose prejudice over professionalism, corruption over character. The agents lead Vanessa away, her head down, her perfect hair now disheveled, her expensive suit wrinkled from the handcuffs. But Darius isn't finished. He turns to address the entire lobby. Customers, employees, security guards, everyone who witnessed what happened. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to apologize. What you witnessed today is not what Meridian National Bank stands for. It's not who we are, and it's not who we'll ever be again. He gestures to Thompson, the security guard. Thompson, you've been doing your job professionally and respectfully. I'd like to offer you a promotion to head of security for this branch. Are you interested? Thompson's eyes widen. Yes, sir. Absolutely, sir. Good. Your first priority is implementing new customer service protocols. Every customer, regardless of age, race, or appearance, gets treated with dignity and respect. Can you handle that? Yes, sir. It would be my honor. Darius turns to Trevor, the young teller who had been following Vanessa's discriminatory orders. Trevor, you're young, you've got potential. But today, you learned a valuable lesson about the difference between following orders and doing what is right. I'm going to give you a choice. You can take a 2-week unpaid suspension to think about whether banking is the right career for you, or you can resign now with a positive reference. Trevor's face is flushed with shame. Mr. Freeman, I want to learn. I want to do better. I'll take the suspension. Good choice. When you come back, you will be working directly with our new diversity and inclusion officer. Every interaction you have with customers will be monitored until you prove you can treat everyone with equal respect. Finally, Darius turns to the customers who had witnessed the entire ordeal. To those of you who saw what happened and said nothing, I want you to remember this moment. Injustice thrives in silence. The next time you see someone being mistreated, discriminated against, or humiliated, I hope you'll find the courage to speak up. An elderly woman raises her hand. Mr. Freeman, friend, want to apologize. I saw how they were treating your daughter, and I didn't say anything. I was wrong. Darius nods respectfully. Thank you for your honesty. It takes courage to admit when we've fallen short.
A young mother with 2 small children approaches. Mr. Freeman, what can we do to make sure this doesn't happen again? Hold us accountable, he says simply. If you see discrimination, report it. If you see unfair treatment, speak up. Change doesn't happen from the top down. It happens when good people demand better from the institutions they trust. Over the next several weeks, Meridian National Bank undergoes a complete transformation. The story goes viral, not just the confrontation, but the systemic changes that follow. Darius implements mandatory bias training for all employees. He establishes a customer advocacy program where community members can report discrimination anonymously. He creates scholarships for underprivileged students, administered through the very bank where his daughter was mistreated. But the most important change is cultural. The bank that once operated on exclusion and prejudice becomes a model for inclusive banking practices. Customers notice the difference immediately. The warmth of greetings, the equal treatment regardless of appearance, the genuine effort to serve every person who walks through the doors. Aaliyah becomes something of a local celebrity, invited to speak at schools and community events about standing up to discrimination and the importance of education. But she remains grounded, focused on her studies and her community service. "Dad?" she asks one evening as they're having dinner. "Why didn't you tell me you were investigating the bank?" Darius sets down his fork, considering his answer carefully. "Because I wanted you to handle this situation on your own merit, not because of who I am. You showed incredible strength and composure today. You documented what you saw, you stood your ground, and you maintained your dignity even when others tried to take it from you." "But I was scared," Aaliyah admits. "Being scared doesn't make you weak, sweetheart. Doing the right thing despite being scared, that's what makes you strong." The story doesn't end with Vanessa's arrest or the bank's transformation. It spreads, creating ripples that extend far beyond the marble floors of Meridian National Bank. Other financial institutions begin examining their own practices, implementing changes to prevent similar incidents. Harrison Wells, exposed as part of the corporate espionage scheme, faces federal charges and the collapse of his own company. But perhaps most importantly, the story becomes a teaching moment about the power of doing what's right, even when it's difficult. At Parker Academy, Aaliyah's scholarship story becomes part of the curriculum. Students learn about discrimination, about standing up for justice, and about the importance of treating everyone with dignity and respect. The scholarship check that started it all finally gets deposited. Not by a discriminatory teller, but by Trevor, who has completed his diversity training and has become one of the bank's most inclusive employees. "Miss Brooks," Trevor says as he processes the transaction, "I want to apologize again for how you were treated, and I want to thank you for teaching me something important about fairness and respect. Aaliyah smiles. We all make mistakes, Trevor. What matters is that we learn from them. The cameras are rolling as Aaliyah stands at a podium in the main lobby of Meridian National Bank. The same lobby where she once stood in humiliation is now filled with community leaders, students, and local media. Today marks the one-year anniversary of the incident that changed everything. But more importantly, it marks the launch of the Aaliyah Brooks Foundation for Educational Excellence, a scholarship program that helps underprivileged students achieve their academic dreams. A year ago, Aaliyah begins, her voice clear and confident, I walked into this bank to deposit a scholarship check. I left with something much more valuable, the knowledge that one person's courage to stand up to injustice can change an entire system. In the audience, Darius watches his daughter with pride. The little girl who once stood in a corner, humiliated and isolated, has become a powerful voice for change. But this story isn't really about me, Aaliyah continues. It's about all of us. It's about the choice we make every day to either accept injustice or fight against it. It's about the power we have to create change, one interaction at a time. She pauses, looking out at the diverse crowd, people of all ages, races, and backgrounds who have come together to celebrate progress and commitment to doing better. The question isn't whether discrimination exists. We know it does. The question is what we're going to do about it. Are we going to stand by silently? Or are we going to demand better from ourselves and from the institutions we trust? The applause is thunderous, but Aaliyah isn't finished. Today, I'm announcing that the Aaliyah Brooks Foundation will provide full scholarships to 50 students this year. But more than that, we're creating a network of young advocates who will go into the world and demand fairness, justice, and equality wherever they go. As the crowd erupts in cheers, Darius feels a tap on his shoulder. He turns to see Thompson, now head of security, wearing a crisp new uniform and a smile that reaches his eyes. Mr. Freeman, Thompson says, I just wanted to thank you. This job, this opportunity, it's changed my life. But more than that, working here has taught me what it means to serve a community with honor and respect. Darius shakes his hand warmly. You've earned it, every bit of it, Thompson. Keep setting the standard. As the ceremony winds down, Aaliyah approaches her father. Dad, do you think we really change things, or will people just forget about this and go back to the way things were? Darius looks around the lobby, at the diverse staff serving customers with genuine warmth, at the community members engaged in conversations about continuing to fight for justice, at the young people inspired by Aaliyah's story to make a difference in their own communities. Change isn't a destination, sweetheart. It's a journey. And every person who heard your story, who saw what happened here, who decided to demand better, they're all part of that journey now. He pauses, watching as Trevor helps an elderly Hispanic man with his banking, treating him with the same respect he would show any VIP customer. The real victory isn't that we fired one prejudiced manager or stopped one case of corporate espionage. The real victory is that we've created a culture where discrimination can't hide in plain sight anymore, where people know they have the power to speak up, to demand better, to create change. As they walk out of the bank together, Aaliyah asks the question that's been on her mind all day. Dad, what if that day had gone differently? What if I hadn't been the CEO? What if I had just been a regular kid with no one to fight for me? Darius stops walking and turns to face his daughter. Then we would have found another way to fight. Because that's what we do, Aaliyah. We don't accept injustice just because it's easier. We don't stay silent just because we're outnumbered. We stand up for what's right because that's who we are. He smiles, the same smile that gave him strength during the darkest moments of that confrontation a year ago. And you know what? Even if I hadn't been the CEO, even if we hadn't had any power or influence, you still would have been brave. You still would have documented what you saw. You still would have stood your ground. That's not about power or position. That's about character. And you, my daughter, have more character than anyone I know. As they walk away from the bank, the afternoon sun casting long shadows on the sidewalk, neither one of them notices the young woman watching from across the street. She's holding a smartphone, recording their conversation, preparing to share their story with her thousands of social media followers. Because some stories are too important to be forgotten. Some moments of courage are too powerful to be ignored. And some changes are too meaningful to be reversed. The story of what happened at Meridian National Bank isn't just about one CEO's daughter or one corrupt manager. It's about the choice we all face every day, to stand up or stay silent, to demand justice or accept the status quo, to create change or maintain the system as it is.